All right, everyone. Yesterday it turned out that Michael Moore attended an anti-Trump event, in the wake of his election, I believe, right after. That was actually sponsored by Russians. That is, they were the ones, the actual like Facebook group and everything, sponsored by actual Russian actors. Now, I don't point this out because I give a fuck, because that's the way Facebook and all of these large sites work. Look, the internet is not a U.S. marketplace. The internet is an international marketplace. Ultimately, I think it's beneficial if people in other countries can weigh in on our elections, just as, by the way, I can as an American. I can weigh in on UK politics, German politics. I can criticize Putin. So I can say things because I'm in the United States that other people aren't able to say. That's one of Merkel's biggest complaints. People from outside of Germany are more free to actually criticize the German government than people within Germany, because she can't prosecute them for hate speech, under German law, because they're not under German law. So it's actually, I think it's a good thing. It helps prevent some degree of totalitarianism maybe in the world. So I don't care that Michael Moore attended this event, but note the hypocrisy on two fronts. Number one, none of these leftists are actually like reaming Michael Moore. Oh, how dare you attend this Russian-sponsored propagandistic event? And by the way, this is like, I don't know, evidence that the Russians started hating Trump or something. That's number one. Number two, did the media really care about it? No, Fox reports on it. Then again, Fox hates Michael Moore, so it's obviously going to do so. Breitbart, it's on Drudge. Now, you're not going to find it really, as CNN won't talk about it. Either that, or they'll just tie it into the wider Russia bullshit thing and say, well, the Kremlin must be behind this. No, they're just trying to destabilize everything. It's also very funny because Michael Moore will sit there and blame Russia for every problem under the sun. Now, keep in mind, this is the Michael Moore that, as a neolib, a very rich, hypocritical, Al Gore-style, corporate neoliberal, bank-loving sucker, like back, during the Bush era, was like, oh, we need this healthcare overhaul, and we need this change to the medical system. We need that change to welfare. We need this change union families. And I'm from the sort of rusted out union rust bucket, small town home, working class family. During the Obama era, despite the fact that all that shit was still going on, you still got war, you still got surveillance, you got everything bad under the sun according to what he said when Bush was the president. All of a sudden, things were generally tolerable, like he didn't want to talk about them. The one saving grace was when he was like, oh, I don't know about this Hillary Clinton stuff. And he actually turned out to be right in his prediction that she would get, clobbered. Although he very quickly reverted and endorsed her and said wonderful things about her anyway. I wonder how much they had to pay him. Maybe he was holding out for a little check. Maybe his ice cream fund ran low for that month, and you know how much that must be. It's got to be in the high five figures at least. He's like, fucking pay me. I'm Michael Moore. I'll make another movie. We're going to make a movie? It's hilarious. Just trust me. We're going to be talking about Trump the whole time. The jokes will write themselves, according to Michael Moore, because he'll go for the low-hanging fruit, like the Jimmy Kimmel level stuff. It's all very funny, and it's really tame and G-rated. Other than when, Jimmy Fallon or one of these others breaks down crying and saying, oh, Trump, you son of a bitch, think of the children, oh, yeah, not the children that Obama droned, but, you got to think of the kids that were killed in the increasingly rare shooting events in the world. Now, it's really funny. In the United States, of course, we are at a 50-year low in crime, but you wouldn't know that thinking, talking to Michael Moore, you'd think that we were in the middle of the late 90s crime spikes. By the way, I've got to talk about Trump because he's getting it wrong now, too. I got some ample criticism for Trump, actually, today, on the token of gun control. Now, for Michael Moore to go to an anti-Trump rally sponsored by Russians is funny. He probably said, well, it was entrapment. They're trying to figure out ways to attack the neoliberals because they're so wonderful. The establishment's out to protect you. It's very funny as well, you've noticed over time. The people that were seen as more maybe fringe figures within politics and society 10, 15 years ago, all of a sudden they're total establishment now. Literally, you couldn't get more establishment than someone like Michael Moore. He's like, basically, just plop a D after his name, put him in Congress, it'd be totally believable. He'd look just like a fat version of Chuck Schumer, basically, at that point. These people that at one point were cast off as, a little bit, chuckleable, as in a lot of their policies would never happen, they were fringe, all of a sudden gained acceptance. That's from the last paradigm shift, the last overhaul of human society. That one is now beginning to degrade, and over the coming years, of course, the opposite potentially happens. I see the rise generally of nativism, populism, a return to a working class left, really, a union left, which would be better than what we have now. It'd be way, way more tolerable than the social justice left, because it wouldn't be involved with wedge issues like sex and race and all this unhelpful stuff as much as maybe, hey, there are people that have very little and people who have a lot. Let's focus on that issue. It may be more important long term for our nation's success. Makes more sense. You can talk about class warfare all you want, but it's more sane. It's more sane than what we've had. Meanwhile, the right wing will become populistic. They'll probably undercut the left when it comes to working class families. Oh, it's gonna be a funny decade, I think, that's actually to come. Michael Moore, meanwhile, aging now as he is a figure of the establishment, whereas in the days of Sicko or something, you may have thought, well, he's way out to left field. He's just really, he's basically an antagonizer. He's sort of like a fat, rich version of a hippie or something. Now it's not the case. Now he just rubs elbows with the Hollywood crowd, and he goes and he makes out with Nancy Pelosi and all this stupid stuff. And he's lost his edge. He and a lot of other people from the past paradigm, so the Gen X paradigm, have totally lost their edges. Now as the millennial paradigm comes to fruition and, begins to decline, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Honestly, over the next maybe half decade. With some of the figures from our generation, really, that have risen to prominence. Some of them will totally sell out. Trust me, more than half of them will probably totally sell out. They'll become sellouts. They'll lose their edge. They'll stop criticizing the establishment. They'll become the establishment. They'll want the limo fleet and then the private jet and stuff. Only with the millennials, because so much of it takes place online, it's going to be really hard for all of them to get that. So some of them are going to get thrown under the bus by the others, number one. Number two, they'll have to make do with a lesser degree of wealth. Maybe that keeps them less corrupt. It's a good thing. Maybe the next paradigm, controlled as it were in part by the millennials, maybe it'll be less corrupt than the last one because it's more decentralized. We can hope, vague optimism there, I suppose. Michael Moore, of course, is totally corrupt. Have you seen his mansion? Yeah. I'm surprised he didn't pull a Barbara Streisand and want to say, well, I'm going to scrub pictures of my house off of Facebook because it's becoming really, really bad. Every time somebody says, hey, watch Michael Moore's really edgy new mini-series, people are like, oh, that edgy dude with hundreds of millions of dollars and what, a 20-bedroom home, and here he's also got the 10-bedroom guest house for the poor people to live in. It becomes difficult. It's like J.K. Rowling, honestly, trying to weigh in on fiscal policy. Ooh, the rich need to pay more. Well, funny, you've forgotten maybe what it's like to be on the lower end there and actually think that the government that doesn't help anyone is magically going to get it right this time. That's about all. Peace out.